I am so Polish I don't put ice cubes in my whiskey, but instead I put frozen pierogi and the whiskey becomes żubrówka. So there I was, looking at memes about the Balkans and realizing I can relate to some of them. Then I thought, okay, I have to make a video about the militaries, and here we are. We will talk about Yugoslavia and what it made, and then what did Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia do once Yugoslavia, the perfect nation made of 90% IMF loans and 10% Slavs, fell apart? Well, first, Yugoslavia started out like most nations after World War II. They used World War II gear and some early Cold War gear. So Shermans, Stuarts, Hellcats, Sabre Dogs, T-34, 85, T-55, and many others. It was a massive mix of East and West, and then they wanted to acquire the license for the BVP-1 from the Czechs. The Czechs refused. So Yugoslavia said, "Puši mi kurac majmune, jebem ti mater." Then what they basically did is they get a Marder and a BMP-1, they give them some rakia, they lock them in a hangar for a week, and after some time, the Yugoslavs said to everyone, "I got my own BMP with blackjack and hookers." Little addition, the Czechs wanted the Yugoslavs to only manufacture spare parts, and the Czechs would build the vehicles themselves. But I bet the Yugos watched the Czechs working and thought, oh boy. Let's start off with the BVP M80. So this is a bit of a mix of East and West, like a lot of the vehicles that they have. You see BMP-1 features in it, like the road wheels, the mud guards, the general shape of it, but also some Marder features. So the armament is a 20mm autocannon, and let's compare it to the 73mm Grom. Well, the accuracy of the 20mm can actually hit beyond a kilometer, while the 73mm, well, this is how a member of the Polish army said it to me. It fires. I believe it was just built to fire. Accuracy wasn't a requirement. Now, although the heat round from the 73mm can wreck a Leopard 1, AMX-30 and even Patton, the accuracy is so bad that firing it will just attract attention to you, and the HE round is anemic. As for the Maliutka on the BMP, well, it's an M-Class ATGM, meaning the accuracy will be pretty bad. The chances of hitting are as good as the Turks apologizing for what they did, which is low. So now the 20mm. Well, it can destroy the BTR series, BMP-1, BMP-2, M113, and the earliest Marder. As you see, the Marder A3 later on got extra armor. So not the Marder 1A3. The ATGM it fires was a basic Maliutka, but later on they managed to unfuck it by making it Saklos, which means you don't have to steer it with a joystick. Therefore, it can actually have accuracy, meaning the Yugos fixed the two main issues of the BMP's armament. They also gave it 2 missiles instead of 1, so you don't have to reload as much. And it also gives you a lot more room for error. The missiles were supposed to get the upgrade, however, Yugoslavia fell apart. The gun was also supposed to be replaced with a 30mm, but then again, Yugoslavia fell apart. So now the armor. It can withstand 20mm AP, while the BMP can withstand 12.7 AP to the front and just 12.7 ball at the sides. 12.7 AP will go through the sides of a BMP-1. And also, this is where the BVP is better than the BMP-1 because it could actually withstand fire from the Marder, while the BMP would just get turned into Swiss cheese. The gun has 5 degrees of gun depression, but 65 of elevation. As for the sights, well, it gets a 2nd gen intensifier, but no thermals, which the Marder does get in the later variants of it. Also, back to the gun elevation, 65 degrees, that means you can target helicopters, which the BMP-1 cannot. Now, its mobility. It's a 13-ton IFV, meaning it's easy to make it go fast. But can it be as fast as Stoyan insulting you? The speed of insults of an old man is unsurpassed, but back to the M80. It has a Hispano-Suiza HS115 engine with about 260 horsepower, giving it about 18 horsepower per ton, which is decent. It can go 65 kilometers for about 500 kilometers. It's amphibious, and it has the reverse speed of a whopping 10 kilometers, making it twice the speed of a T-72 in reverse. And when it comes to the mobility, imagine the BMP-1 engine and transmission, but better quality. It also has 2 reverse gears. The BMP-1, very surprisingly, it has 2 reverse gears, like the BMP-1, very surprising. And it's very surprising that the Soviets actually had more than 1 reverse gear in anything. Conclusively, the BVP M80 is better than the BMP-1, but not at the level of a Marder 1A3. The early version of the Marder 1, sure. But still, it's something that the Balkans can be proud of making. Something on your own, while not having as much experience as the Soviets and coming up with a better design. Also, here's what the interior looks like. Pretty neat, huh? Now, time for the best T-72 for its time, the M84. So this is the Unicorn T-72. Well, just look at its kurwa weather sensor, there you go. Easily recognizable because of that, and even a fan of mine made a recognition guide for it. So what is the M84? Well, most countries would buy a T-72M, which is basically a T-72A. Exactly the same thing, but the Yugos wanted to feel special, so they got a version with a way stronger turret. So the hull is like a regular T-72M with the composite armor, you know, the typical 60-150. But the armor is said to be the equivalent of a T-72B's armor, meaning the hull will not withstand a 105mm NATO gun, but the turret will, unless it uses additional protection like a metal plate or some nice ERA. Also, at the time, the T-72s that were exported didn't have the things like automated target lead. They wouldn't have the advanced fire control system, the DNNS2. It would calculate things like temperature, wind, angle, range, and all the necessary things. Then, make the right calculation in order to assist the gunner. And at the time, the only Soviet tanks which had such things would be T-64 and T-80, used by more elite units. While in NATO, though the Leopard 2 and M1 Abrams were just around the corner, and they were still not close to entering large-scale production, most of NATO would still be using the Leopard 1, M60 and AMX-30, and most of the Warsaw Pact had the T-72M and the T-55. Those would all be outclassed by the M84. Only the latest tanks like T-72B, the new T-80s, previously mentioned Leopard 2 and M1 Abrams, would be able to realistically have a chance against it. Let's see what the neighbors had at the time. Well, Italy had the Leopard 1, Romania used the T-55 and TR-85, Hungary had the T-72M, Greece was still operating the M60 and Leopard 1. So in the area, the M84 was pretty much the best. So later, Yugoslavia fell apart and the nations would do their own or slightly shared armor upgrades or production or going shopping abroad. So let's start with Slovenia. First, what does the modern Slovenian army look like? So there's the Valuk, Svarun, BVP M80, M84, A4 Sniper, and they used to use the M55S. With the preparation of this part of the script, I received a lot of help from Mitos. Guys, hop into his channel, he makes content about armor, mostly focusing on Slovenia. If you wish to talk to him about Yugoslav and post-Yugoslav armor, hop into my Discord. So first, the Lahko Kolesno Oklepno Vozilo Valuk. It's a 6x6 APC, made under license, and it's an Austrian Pandur 1. It's armed usually with a 50 cal. So with AP ammo, it can wreck a BTR and BMP series. It can also have a 40mm grenade launcher. The armor can withstand 50 cal at the front and 7.62 at the sides. It can also get additional add-on armor kits, which can make it withstand 50 cals as well, but not the 14.5. There is also a version with a 25mm, but that's only a prototype unfortunately. It carries 6 men and it has an engine which has 256 horsepower, about 2400 RPM. It's the Steyr WD 612 6-cylinder engine. It gives about 20 horsepower per ton. It's the typical 6x6 wheeled. It can go for about 700 kilometers at the speed of 100 kilometers, and it's 12 to 13 tons. When it comes to the crew, it's 2 to 3 people, depends on the version, and it carries 2 to 6 passengers depending on the version. Now, the part that actually makes this competitive is it being only 12 tons. It's much lighter than most APCs in modern use. The weight means less wear and tear on parts, meaning easier on logistics, less frequent repairs, and since we are speaking of reliability, the 50 cal is also part of that. Many can laugh that it's just a 50 cal, it's not enough for nowadays and for modern use. However, you see, if you have an autocannon and a turret for it, that is so much more moving parts and things to maintain. That's why US Army engineers use turretless Bradley thing that uses only a 50 cal instead. It's more convenient. So with the Valuk, it's also a wheeled design, another feature that's making it even more low maintenance. Thanks to this, it's perfect for mountains and long-range drives, unlike APC if you will. Majority of APCs nowadays are at least 20 tons. And then there is the Boxer, which I may get to one day, but this thing can weigh over 30 tons, be taller than an Abrams, and that's just inconvenient. I just think it's an over-engineered design, and I am happy Slovenia went for Patria. So now let's talk about the Svarun. It's a Patria, which is a brilliant modern Finnish APC with massive amounts of variance. The Polish army alone operates one with a 120mm mortar, a remote operated 30mm with spikes, a lengthened version, one with a 25mm, and a some with an MG. The Rosomak and Brak, which are the ones with the 25mm and the 120, have been battle tested in Ukraine, and I think that they deserve an A+. The vehicle in all variants can be amphibious. The early versions would protect you from a 14.5mm from all sides, but the modern version can tank a 25mm APFSDS round to the front, meaning a Soviet 30mm won't do much against it either. So Slovenia operates a Patria with a remote operated 50 cal, and with what I mentioned about the 50 cal in the Valuk, that is part of its, what you could say the same reasoning may apply here. Also remember, Slovenia is a small country with a small budget. Although they did punch above their weight in the 10-day war against Yugoslavia, they are still small. That I'd say can justify the 50 cal. Also the infantry in those Patrias often has a spike, and that ACGM is really freaking strong. The striker in Ukraine is also using a 50 cal on it, and it seems to be very successful. Therefore the 50 ain't bad. There is also a version with a 25mm that shares a turret with this cool thing, and if you go on the website of the company that makes those turrets, look at this cool thing. So it's a remote controlled 25mm Bushmaster, which can also be used to shoot down drones. It has a CITV that is most likely 3rd gen thermals, laser warning receiver, but the armor may lack a bit though. But overall, it's great. Slovenia has also made purchases from Finland for extra Patrias, about 106 for just under 700 million euros, and I wasn't able to find what they will be armed with. So conclusively, I'd say, for the budget size, the capability, Slovenia is doing really good. Thank God they didn't choose the Boxer. Hatfuna Boxera. Ja pierdolę, co to szmelc, jakby zapomnieli, co się nauczyli, jak projektowali Leoparda 1. It's about 16 to 32 tons, depending on the variant. The crew is 2 to 3 people, also depending on the variant, and it can carry 8 to 12 passengers. When it comes to the armaments, you can have anything on it. It uses a Di-12 Scania diesel and also a DC-12 Scania diesel and even a DC-13 Scania diesel. They have about 600 horsepower, 543 horsepower and 480 horsepower. It's also amphibious. It can go 600 to 1000 kilometers and travel at the speed of 100 kilometers on the road and 10 in the water. Cause yes, motherfucker, this bitch is amphibious. And if you want to ask about miles, then if you're smart enough to put a flag on the moon, you can do the math with no issue. In that department, well done. Now the tanks. For a while, Slovenia operated the M55S and the M84. The M55S has been put into storage, then sent to Ukraine and 2 left behind to stay in museums. I have a video where I compare the M55S to the TR-85, so because I do not enjoy repeating myself, Think of it this way. A T-55 with the M84 fire control system, a new 105mm gun and ERA, so now it can actually withstand an RPG, and the firepower is insanely improved. But unlike something like the Egyptian Ramses II, they didn't upgrade the mobility. So now let's get the M55S side, and now let's look at the M84A4 sniper. What they did is they gave it completely new optics, the SCS-84 day-night sensor, DBR-84 ballistic computer, improved elevation and traverse sensors, a EFCS-free fire control system. There were also rumors that they wanted to put a 1000 horsepower engine into it. From what this Slovenian artist and I were able to find out about the Slovenian M84A4, one of them has thermals in the Slovenian army, just one. Croatia used the M84A4 sniper as their MBT, but they donated most of those to Ukraine, making them based as fuck, which makes me think if we are going to see them equipped with Contact 1, and because of the donation, Croatia decided to get the Leopard 2 A8. Now, although I believe it's an amazing tank for modern day, I don't think it has much development potential. Buying a Leopard 2 now is like buying a Leopard 1 5 years before the Leopard 2 comes out. Although, I do understand that Croatia needed something now, however the Abrams and K2 are a better option. Although looking at American politics, maybe the K2. It's cheaper and you can get it a lot faster, and it's also just a better tank. Now, a lot of people may say that Russia captured a Leopard 2A6, and because of that, a lot of things about the Leopard 2A8 are compromised, like the armor, the gun, the ammo, and a whole bunch of other things. On one side, yes, however, it's the Leopard 2A6 that he captured, and not something like the 2A7 and the 2A8. There is a bit of a, let's just say, smaller risk because of that. Meanwhile, Ukraine has captured a T-90M, which is the most modern tank in production for Russia. Meanwhile, European NATO, the most modern tanks are M1A2 Abrams, Leopard 2A7, the 2A8, and the K2PL will eventually be online. What Russia captured is a M1A1 Abrams, the Leopard 2A6, and the 2A5, and those are not the newest tanks. Those are still behind the most modern stuff which NATO has en masse. Meanwhile, Russia lost the T-90M, which is the most modern thing that they have in mass use and mass production, and it's what they will have for a while. About the Leopard 2, I do not want to talk a lot about the Leopard 2 because I see it as a bit of a modern tiger. There's a million videos about it, and same thing about the Abrams and the T-90. I don't give a shit. And also, this is about what Yugoslavia and post-Yugo nations have designed. There's zero Yugo inputs into this. Okay? Now the IFV. They use the M2 Bradley, and it's the M2A2 variant of the Bradley, which has proven itself really well, and it's better than anything Russia has in production currently. And for the same reasons, that's all I'm gonna say about the Bradley. And if anyone in the comments says, yeah, but why did Slovenia get such a long Valuk and Patria segment? Well, it's because they are making their own turrets for the Svarun. The Valuk was co-produced. Okay? So shut the fuck up. Now time for Serbia. They use modernized variants of the M84 and the M80. The M80 AS1 and the AS2. The M84 AS2 received the new optics, which are 3rd gen thermals, for Gunner and Commander, a remotely operated HMG. License-made Israeli APF-SDS capable of penetrating 550mm of steel at 2 kilometers. It receives an ERA package called M19. It is similar to Gofr and Noj. Those three mentioned ERAs are the coolest in my opinion. I have seen, however, no engine and transmission upgrades, unlike Poland and Czechia did with their T-72s. Now the M80. They have an upgrade package for the M80, which gives it more armor, a new turret, with some sort of new gun, and an automatic grenade launcher on top. This is the M80 AB1. They also made their own APC, Lazar 3. It's an 8x8 vehicle at about 28 tons. It can go 800 kilometers in one direction and a speed of up to 110 kilometers. It's said to be mine resistant. The frontal armor is about level 5 Stanag, which means 25mm APDS will struggle going through. However, many NATO nations have 30mm, 35mm, and 40mm. But this is still really good, especially compared to the dogshit BTR-80. Look, it even has a rear exit. Russia, even the mini Balkan of Russia, can make a better APC than you. As for the armament, it can use a 12.7 HMG, a 20mm autocannon, or even a Russian 30mm. So against the Patria, let's take the Slovenian one. So the one with the cool turret, yeah, the Lazar is gonna get shit on. The Polish Rosomak with spikes, yeah, it beats it. But compared to the BTR, well, this time the BTR is the one who's gonna have to get used to being treated like a rag. The Lazar could wipe the floor with this shitbox. It has a regular 3-man crew with up to 9 passengers, and the crew compartment seems pretty spacious and comfortable actually. I didn't find out whether it's amphibious or not, but there is also a variant armed with a 57mm gun, which carries about 80 rounds. It can use APFSDS, APC, BC, HE, airburst, meaning it can be anti-everything you want dead, unless it's an MBT. Then you're gonna have to flank. Good luck. It's a good APC for modern day. It's not on the level of the Patria when it comes to armament, and the 30mm that they want to use on it isn't even better than the NATO 25mm. But it's something, and it means that Serbia has the capability to design and put into production a vehicle, and that's something. Most countries cannot do that. So, conclusively, Slovenia bought and made good APCs. Croatia maintained a modern tracked force that is very capable. Serbia designed a new APC and upgraded old IFVs. All three upgraded the M84 in some way. Slovenia upgraded the T55 as well. Croatia is the first to make a switch to a different tank model. The way I see things is that Slovenia will maybe expand the turret production. Croatia will keep assembling the Bradley, and Serbia will keep developing the Lazar further. Slovenia may end up buying new tanks eventually. Croatia is doing already. Serbia, I am unsure. So, now I have an important announcement, my viewers. I am currently in hospital. This is why video production is going really slow. I am recording this in a private room for myself. I have a lot of content planned, and when I am out of here, the upload regime will be back to normal. And the M113 video, I had this pre-recorded audio in December, and that's why I was able to make it. Thank you all for your support. If you like my channel and want to talk, ask questions and other stuff, join the Discord. That way you may hear me out on other stuff and things I haven't talked about yet on videos.
Tylko jedno w głowie mam, koksu 5 gram, odlecieć sam w krainę zapomnienia. W głowie myśli mam, kiedy spełni się ten stan, gdy już nie będę sam, powiedzie biały węgorz.